Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. I am Inquisitor Caveat Ventus, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is my report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesys adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee, Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Laura Elizabeth as Marni Schwartzenberger, and Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Vis. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band have claimed an Ork vehicle. Marni made a deal with a voice in her head she didn't understand. Attikus proved he was a one-man army, and Valentyne continued his streak as a sharpshooter. Can they get through no man's land without being slaughtered by both sides? Find out in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From a tattered, perhaps unofficial owner's manual for a Boomdaka Snazwagon. Right, so take your stomper, you're gonna stomp, and then you're just gonna fucking hold on. That is the entirety of the manual. So, Valentyne, Marni, and Attikus, you have got yourself some wheels. You've got a Boomdaka Snazwagon, which again is like an armored limo for Orks. I believe, Tyler, you're on the gun as Vis. Valentyne, you're driving, and Marni is like conscious now from some tremendously good rolling, but still pretty almost dead.
Yeah, so we got Marni in the passenger seat, and Attikus has my auspex up with him for targeting.
Excellent. I just heard a voice in my head. In reality?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Because it's one shots. Excellent. So you fire up the vehicle as indicated in the driver's manual, which is, in fact, in a little like glove box alongside like just a fistful of shells and like a tiny skull. The vehicle is very simple, but Valentyne, from looking around at it, you would be, I think, nervous to get into this vehicle in better circumstance because it does look so roughshod and ramshackle and kind of like nailed together. But desperate times, desperate measures. Your goal, of course, is to reach forward operating base Charlie, which is one of the furthest forward operating bases along the coast. To find Celesti Eris, the doctor that Vis thinks you can trust because they're generally too busy to care. Forward operating base Charlie is unfortunately a bit of a distance away from where you've popped up. This is part of the trouble Marni had with getting back for years. Is you are deep behind enemy lines, so you are in for quite a drive. You're going to have to basically cross the active battlefield, no man's land, and then reach the glorious regal lines in order to reach the operating base, all while not being shot by your own people or possibly by the Orks. Good times. Are there any preparations you want to make before you floor it?
Does an auspex work the other way, where it can be picked up by Imperial sensors? Like, instead of using it to search out the location of enemies, can it be like, we're friendly, like a beacon or something?
No, but Eugene has a functional radio in him. So if we're within radio distance of Imperial lines, I can send a message through Eugene.
Okay. All right. That was my one like logistical question of like, why would we just like draw the wrath of both sides if we can avoid half of that?
Probably put Eugene on like an auto broadcast with like some kind of, I mean, to use himself as the beacon, but just like announce Inquisitor no shoot. Hello, I'm Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne. Don't shoot the Boomdaka Snazwagon, the one with the skull in it. Don't shoot us. Don't shoot us.
It's a very official message. I like it. Okay, great. So with that, you fire up the Boomdaka Snazwagon. And you have to, I was going to say floor it, but you actually have to like awkwardly reverse out of the trap that Vis set off with dropping all the trees. So you do that awkward Austin Powers shuffle where you're just like desperately trying to like get the car out, and it's in theory like a very like metal as hell moment full of excitement, but instead it's kind of muted as you awkwardly like shuffle the car out. But eventually you do manage to get it free. So you're able to drive through the forest fairly easily. Again, there aren't official roads, but there definitely are places where things have been knocked aside. What is your how do you want to approach the idea of other vehicles and that sort of thing? Are you going to try and maintain cover? Are you going to avoid them? What's the approach?
I think the smartest approach would be like it's like a sealed or like it's not like a convertible or anything like that. Like it's completely armored and covered.
With the exception of the gun on the back, which to operate you kind of need to poke your head up and out.
So I think the idea ought to be then that like Attikus ducks down until we need to shoot stuff, and for the time being in Orc territory, we just look like a Boomdaka Staswagon.
Yeah, and Orc vehicles go fast, so Valentyne would just be trying to like, everybody stay hidden and we just book it through. We wouldn't want to drive through like a base or something where we get pinned, but we wouldn't worry about traffic on the road. It's more like we'll go fast, they'll go fast. Everybody will yell like, "Oh, you beast!" and just keep punching it.
Space Marine. That's the one line I remember from the game. Space Marine.
Attikus is just kind of crouched down, like holding on to like the opening and like holding on to the auspex for like any like blips to show up, and then he's probably gonna jump up on the gun if they're in auspex range. That it's good enough reason to start shooting. Is that my understanding?
Yeah. Well, unless if they're shooting at us, otherwise just stay hidden.
Okay. So wait for them to shoot us. Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to start a war. We're going to be driving by a large number of orcs, and I'd rather not have them chase us the whole way.
Aye, sir. But we are a war. War's started.
Yes, I understand. But what I mean is I don't want the entire war to just be us versus all of them.
I think I could take him, but all right. Orders are orders.
I'm just holding myself together, like physically. I'm still at like -3. Like,
well, if you're going to vomit in the front seat, just vomit on the dead Gretchen right there. And he just points at your feet, and there's just like a Gretchen airbag that went off when they stopped suddenly. It just threw a Gretchen at the guy and it died.
It's not a highly safety rated vehicle, but it's so fuel efficient, Okay, great. So Ryan, can you go ahead and roll me a driving check, please? We're gonna say difficulty of 3 because it is a foreign vehicle. Admittedly, it is an Orcish vehicle, so it's a bit simpler. I believe from the last session, we were currently sitting at 3 and 2 in your favor for story points. So we will leave it at that. We might drop it back down to 4 again in future. I'm not entirely sure yet, but for now, 3 and 2.
Okay, I will use the story point because they need this vehicle to work, and he will will it to work.
That's probably how it works.
Yeah, no boost, no setback, right?
I'm going to give you 1 setback for how injured you are, but your skill will negate it. So just be aware that it's there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm aware I'm injured. Gotta hold that time.
Cutely aware.
2 successes and a triumph.
Oh, baby. Ryan, how does Valentyne know how to use this car so well?
I think it's comparable. Like when he got in, it looked totally different, but it's actually comparable to like the Moonlander on his like, space scholar progenium that they would have to go out to like journey between areas. It's like, he said, yeah, actually, it's like one of those space golf carts they set for us. So like the movement's actually simpler than he thinks. And it turns out that the gravity, because of the gravity being shit, he can lean into the turns. He's used to stuff swinging wide in a way most vehicles don't.
Okay, cool. I love that. Having done this on a planet with like bad gravity, doing it on a planet with actual like normal gravity would be a delight. Excellent. Okay, so you fire up the Boomdaka Snazwagon, and you floor it through the woods. You can see orc units moving through the trees at distance. You can see kind of the pillowing smoke of other war tracks and bikes, certainly. And after a few minutes of driving, sure enough, people are generally like acknowledging you just as another vehicle making your way through the woods. After a few minutes of driving, the woods open up, sort of breach the edge, and you come out finally onto the rolling green hills of Vicodin. As there always seems to be, there's a sort of a heavy gray cloud cover, sort of rolling low over the hills and moors of fake Scotland. It's after kind of being underground for a bit and being in kind of a gross burnt out forest, that kind of refreshing, like Pepsi Cool Mist, Cool Zone Mist thing kind of hits you. And it is a legitimate relief. Even Marni, sort of through the depths of your kind of pain and trying to hold yourself together, it just really is one of those incredibly refreshing moments of breathing real air again, which is quickly, of course, ruined when the shells begin to fall. So looking out as you come out of the forest, you can see you're a little ways away from no man's land, sort of a few turns away from no man's land. Which is, for all the greenery that's everywhere else, this is very much a classic, like, mud of France, World War I trench mess, just a bombed out field. Not dissimilar, Attikus, from the terrain you were betrayed in. So just kind of a lot of destroyed vehicles, kind of from both sides. Beyond that, there's orc units clearly lining up for some kind of action against the Imperial Guard lines. However, shells have begun to fall. And Attikus, can you please roll me a perception check? Actually, Valentyne, you can do this as well.
Good.
Cool. Just a second.
I'm perceiving my own pain.
Any difficulty or
Attikus,
just straight?
You get to add 2 boosts because you're using an Auspex.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That seriously basically like doubled my chances of getting a success.
This is going to be difficulty 3.
Quick review of my character sheet, although I'm almost 100% sure I've got nothing to help me perceive. No.
3 successes and 2 advantage for Valentyne.
Yep.
2 advantages, 2 failures.
Okay.
I'm holding the Auspex upside down. As in the screen is facing the floor and I'm just looking at the back of it.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
The good news is you're going to figure out how to fix those batteries if that ever becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Valentyne, as the shells begin to hit, you are concerned because you're basically going to have to slalom through these fuckers before you can reach the lines. But a quick kind of look with your sort of tactical know-how would suggest that these shells are actually being launched too deep into the line. Like they're not. Normally, you would use a shell bombardment to either pin down enemies or just like make them fuck off. But weirdly, the targeting on this seems off. It seems like someone is basically missing because it's penetrating into the lines, but there's still like a giant, like it's not like hitting the line, it's hitting beyond the line, sort of deep into the.
It's not hitting the people who charge, it's shooting the camp, which is not helpful.
Yes, exactly, and like the reinforcements and other things. So it's not like it's not killing orcs, because it's definitely killing orcs. But if you were in command of this, you would be pretty mad. Attikus, I think you see it, but trying to pay attention to the auspice and also having likely as someone who like fights close up, your concern is less for that and more for like what kind of orcs are we looking at. So I think you get distracted with that. And Marni, you just keep on keeping on, my friend.
Worth saying aloud because Valentyne is an internal thought kind of character and the other 2 are not high-level strategists. So I don't know if he'd discuss his thoughts on the conspiracy at this point. He's pretty sure this is designed to be a war that will go forever and that whoever's running the guard is taking out people who are capable and they're purposefully botching the battle lines to try to keep eyes off the planet or if they show up, gone. It's a weird theory, but it's what he's running with based on what he's seen so far.
I feel like you would disclose. I think weirdly with like Alto and Lyric, you probably would have told them just because you were all kind of a conspiracy together. With these 2, I feel like this is information you would give them when safe. I don't think you would be like instructing them on this now. This feels more, yeah, like
let me share some theories with you.
It's a classic like road trip dad being like, all right, so when we get to
yeah, I think he'd share when it's pertinent, but I just. Right. I was like, worth saying aloud so, Tom knows it and the audience knows. So it's not like 3 episodes later, he's like, I have a theory based on something 7 episodes ago that no one remembers except me.
Yeah, you don't want to pull a Matrix and just have Neo, who's done nothing but kill robots for 2 movies, suddenly be like, actually, I want peace. And everyone be like,
Yeah.
Right. Good work. Okay, so let's go have a Zion rave. Does this, I assume your plan is still just like as fast as humanly possible or orkishly possible to get to the FOB. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
If we're going, like, I think Valentyne to keep an eye out for, like, if there are orc formations or whatever, he'd do that thing which is like run alongside and then dart away when you need to, like try to blend in as possible with the not getting shelled orcs. The moment the shells start landing on the army, fuck the orcs. He's off.
All right, so you're gonna have to maneuver through the initial sort of shell blast to even reach that part of the formation. Yep. Tyler, you can assist with this if you want, which will just basically be adding boost to Ryan. Laura, I'm sorry, there's still not much for you to do, but the good news is, like, yeah, there you go. Thank you. That's exactly what I needed. All right, so Ryan, go ahead with driving. You'll get boost from Tyler. We're currently sitting at 2 and 3 in my favor. I'm going to spend. Our difficulty? Yeah, I'm just working that out. I'm going to spend 1 to bump it. No worries. So Ryan, your difficulty, if you're going fast, is going to be 4. 1 of which is a red. Only because the way I'm basically playing with this is you will make it through more range bands going at this speed. It's just going to be harder because you're less able to maneuver if you're driving at top speed, but you'll get there faster.
Cool, and I'll use the story point as well.
Okay, great.
1 success.
Okay. So you take off at speed. Attikus, you're the most exposed of the 3. What's going through your head as these shells are exploding around you?
Focus, listen, wait for the command to fire. Doesn't matter that you're being shelled.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the snaz wagon begins sort of maneuvering between shells that are just like blasting, orc bits everywhere. The orcs themselves are getting fired up to charge. Even with the sort of ranks behind them being decimated, you hear some occasional shouts of almost joviality. There's kind of a like, well, they missed us, so I guess it's up to us now. Let's go! Just a bunch of like fired up, excited work boys whipping themselves into a frenzy. And then finally we hear a knob who's wearing like full armor, like a mechanical body, giant like can opener arm, big shooter for one arm, and just says, "All right, lads. Well, it seems it's time for us to wah, I say." And the orcs around him scream wah, and he says, "Yes, let's go," and begins like loping across the battlefield. Along with the rest of the units. So the good news is you've slalomed through the shots because you rolled, I was going to say, rolled a big success. You rolled a success, which is good enough. You've made it past the shell lines. They're kind of creating a natural barricade behind you. And now it's you and the orcs entering no man's land. I'm going to roll a perception check for the orcs to see if they determine that you are not of them. So what am I going to roll here? Just get my dice roller up. Skip it up. All right, great. So
Tom.
Yes, sir.
Just to throw this out there as an idea, I have 2 points in deception / cunning. Could we add those as setback dice from making orky noises and such from within our vehicle?
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Sick.
Okay.
I mean, Marni's kind of doing that already.
Well,
Yeah.
one of us. Okay, so yeah, I'll give you I'm gonna say 3 setback, because you're absolutely right. Marni's like tortured, nonsensical screams do make this seem a bit more believable. I'm going to gain 1 boost for myself because I think Valentyne is likely a much safer driver than an orc driver would be. And then we're going to say, I think 3 difficulty on my end. Story points currently sit at 2 and 3 in my favor. I am going to spend 1 to upgrade to a yellow. So now it is 3 and 2 in your favor. Did you guys want to spend 1 to up the difficulty?
Yeah. I think we've had some time to do some like slaloming and stuff, and I think his more safe driving is balanced by the fact that everything is bouncing like a psychopath. So I think like it's impossible to drive safely. So everyone seems like an orc a little bit.
Gotcha. All right, what do we get? 1 triumph, 2 failures, and 1 threat. That is a weird spread.
They spot us, but we run over the war boss. That's why they spot us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say the war boss does notice as he's running. He kind of like looks over and says, "Wait a minute. There aren't supposed to be any boomdacker snazwagons in this particular detachment. I sense a ruse." But he only trusts his unit. So he like points at you guys with his machine gun hand. And immediately a couple of like knobs on bikes start like slaloming through the crowd towards you. But it really is like in a heist movie, security has pointed you out from across the room. But unfortunately, with the failures and the threat, it's going to take them a while to get there. What that will mean for you, Attikus, and I guess Valentyne, if you're waiting on his order, is you've clearly been made, but it's in the chaos of a charge. So there are units moving towards you, but they're still pretty far away and have to kind of make it through their ranks while also still charging forward. Would you open fire or would you hold off?
I would hold off. Is there a scenario where we can reach the required range bands without these guys catching us? Can
yes.
we make it FOB? Okay.
It's entirely possible. Because the Imperial side is going to open fire next turn as the Orks charge through no man's land. So like there will be a lot of chaos. It's just if you shoot at them now, you have the advantage of possibly stopping them. But the risk
then
of everyone else seeing you. If you don't, they might be able to catch up to you. But you won't.
Then they're in the same shit that we are. So I'll hold off.
Okay. Great. So with that, the famed flashlights of the Imperial Guard begin to blink on and off as the lasguns fire, laser bursts at you. I
thought they were doing some sort of like signal.
I mean, in a way, they are. It's just with shitty guns.
The signal is, please stop.
Yeah. Bring bigger guns. So they begin firing their las rifles in a cascade of G.I. Joe cartoon fire. And the Orks open fire with much shootier guns that do not have any accuracy but pack a bigger punch. And you find yourself in a crossfire. Ryan, let's get another driving check from you, and this will determine whether or not the knobs on bikes are able to catch up to you.
Okie dokie. We're at 2 story points?
Yes, you are. You also have 1 boost coming forward from the threat on my previous roll.
I will use that boost. That sounds great. What's our difficulty, Tom?
I'm going to say 3.
All right, let's see what happens. Oh, interesting. 3 advantage, 3 failure.
Okay, so as the gunfire begins, and orcs start taking cover and lobbing grenades and firing rockets, it's just mass chaos. And Valentyne, you see your opportunity. It's that moment in like sort of ancient combat. This would be when 2 armies slam up against each other. In this case, it's like they've gotten within range of each other, so now everyone's starting to like duck for cover and try and essentially weaken the line enough that the orcs with choppas can make it the rest of the way. A couple of them do that like thing that orcs always do in movies, where like one of them ignores the commander, just runs out and gets shot a bunch of times. So there's a bunch of that drama happening, but it actually means the tide is stopping, which gives you a rare chance to like bolt forward. Unfortunately, the bikes take the same opportunity. So you tear out into the middle of no man's land. It's a classic like trying to sneak across the Berlin wall border, where it's like you just have to clear the distance. You're starting to hear crackling static from Imperial transmissions. It's complete chaos, so they likely won't be able to help you, but they aren't also specifically aiming for you, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So you burst out of the ranks of the orcs, knocking a couple aside with the front of the car, and you're just tearing across no man's land, over burnt out trees and through like muddy puddles and over the bodies of Imp Guard and Orc alike. Unfortunately, the bikes are on your tail. So 3 bikes managed to burn through behind you. With your advantages, I'm going to say, Valentyne, the bikes catch up, but you're able to shout the order to Attikus.
Yeah, he'll just lean back and say, well, old boy, now it's time to kill every orc chasing us, if you would.
Righto. And I'll just I'll toss the Auspex down to Marni, and I'll just like first of all establish a connection of like make it very clear that like she is lucid and like we have eye contact, and I'll just like point in front of me. I'll say 12 o'clock, and I'll point behind me and say 6 o'clock. Keep an eye on the radar, and I'll just get up on the gun, and I'll turn around and start firing on them.
Amazing. Marni, I'm going to need, please, a let's say a resilience check to see if you're conscious enough to help with this.
Cool. All right. What's my difficulty?
You're at -3, right? For health?
Yeah.
Then let's make it 3.
Okay. I have nothing that will help me. Correct. Yes, I have nothing that will help me. All right. I'm just going to roll it.
Sure.
End result is 2 threat.
Okay. You seem lucid enough in the moment that Attikus, you fully believe that she is looking at it. But as soon as you crawl back up, like the car hits a bump and her head just kind of lolls forward and still has that same intense focus, but it's just her like clenching every muscle she has to kind of keep her guts inside. So what you took as like full patent understanding, unfortunately, was not understood by her, which means you'll be working at a slight disadvantage.
I mean, I feel like I'd have been disadvantaged anyway using one hand to hold an Auspex.
Oh, 100%.
While trying to fire my weapon.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to capture here is, unfortunately, you actually trust that she's going to call these for you, which will have a...
She will not be doing so or calling wrong. These are just...
Cool. So Tyler, we're gonna... What gunnery skills do you have? This vehicle doesn't exist in the book, obviously, so we're just doing some fast thinking.
So I have like, what do I have ranks in?
Well, yeah, like what kind of... I mean, I would assume this would be ranged heavy, but it could also be gunnery.
I would assume this is gunnery.
Okay, if you have either of those, you can use...
I've got neither, so fuck it.
Great. Right man for the job. Okay, so we'll go ahead and say gunnery then.
Oh, man.
So you have three knob bikes tearing up behind you. Ryan, how many advantage did you gain?
3.
3. All right, so Tyler, you can take 3 boost from Valentyne's orders. You will take 2. Sorry, Laura, what was do you still have your roll up in front of you?
Yeah, it was 2 threats.
Great. So you have 2 setback from Marni.
Okay.
Currently with story points, I believe we're sitting at 2 and 3 in my favor.
Yeah.
So you can use one of those if you want. Sure. Good news is this is a very big gun, and they are not that far away. So you'll be shooting at a difficulty of 2.
I just for your tracking, Tom, I will spend a story point.
Great. All right, so we're sitting at 1 and 4 in my favor.
Is it for just having a sick arm, or how does it represent itself?
I think it is just Attikus's tenacity in that even if he can't like, I don't think he's doing like bursts or anything like that. He's going to basically hold the crosshair and squeeze on an enemy until the enemy is not there anymore.
Nice.
So it's not like controlling the weapon per se, as just like hosing and trying to just point the hose at the enemy until they're gone.
Yeah, it's one of those arcade shooters where the gun just fires constantly as long as you're holding the trigger down.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean,
Okay.
I assume. I don't know what.
Time Crisis 3.
Wash.
Damn, son. Okay. So you do that. You start hosing them with shots. As the battle rages around you, they're dodging and weaving, and you're doing that thing that usually only happens to like a hero in a movie who's just magically able to outrun someone on a machine gun who doesn't turn fast enough. So it's just you're kind of like kicking up dirt as the bolts hit, but unfortunately they are closing in. Valentyne, there is a spray of fire coming from in front and behind you. Do you want to roll another driving check to try and sort of weave your way through, or do you want to try and convince the imp guard that you are?
Convince imp guard.
alongside?
Convince imp guard. 100%.
Keeping in mind that will only reduce fire from one side.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, yeah. No. I'm gonna trust Attikus to shoot things. He's the shooty guy.
Okay. So you go.
Valentine doesn't know
Marni's
that.
your shooty guy.
Yeah.
All right. So Ryan, go ahead and roll. What do you think you'd go with here?
Probably coercion.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because I think, yeah, he's like driving with one hand and just yelling into Eugene like it's one of the overhead radios where he like, pulls Eugene down, yells into Eugene's mouth, and then puts it
10-4,
back
good
up.
buddy.
Yeah. It's just like yelling, like, Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne inside a Snazdacker Wagtag. I don't know what it's called. I'm inside this thing getting shot at by orcs. Please don't shoot me. Shoot the orcs. Just the ones around me. This is me. You'll see a skull floating. And then he just starts waving Eugene out the side window just with one hand.
Jaws flapping like a dog's tongue.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and roll. We'll say difficulty of 2.
Cool.
And I will spend a story point to bump it up. Just the chaos of the combat. Also, Eugene is like equipped with a radio, but he doesn't necessarily have the best reception. You're trying to like find the right channels. Like there's a bunch of shit going on.
Yeah. No, let's see what happens. 4 failures. God, and I'm really good at this skill too.
Ooh.
All right.
Nice.
The Boomdaka Snazwagon is pelted with fire from a heavy bolter on the Imperial Guard side. The windshield blows inward as a shell hits it, raining glass down on Marni and Valentyne.
Valentyne is shrieking, just like, why did they put glass in here?
Yeah. Because it was once a limo and they stole it and adapted it. So Ryan, I need from you, please, I think we can go with discipline to keep control of the vehicle as the windshield blows inward and glass cuts you up.
Cool. What's the difficulty?
Difficulty of how many failures did you have? You had
4.
I think 4. So say difficulty of 3.
Fuck.
Because 4 seems unnecessary.
Harder than driving under fire. Yeah. I will use a story point for this one because I think he's just got rage and tenacity are his 2 things. And now he's been shot at by the guard lines or declaring he's an Inquisitor. Like he's 100% sure this world is corrupt at this point. 2 successes and 1 advantage.
Great.
Nice.
So you feel glass ping off your artificial eye, and thank the Emperor for small blessings. And you're able to keep control of the vehicle. Attikus, the orcs are much closer now. They've kind of pulled in almost in a raiding group. You're almost to the Imperial Guard line. Go ahead and open fire.
Are they? It's okay. I feel like it's.
Or
pointless for me to open
what
fire.
would you like to do? You can also do something.
I
else.
guess it's frustrated. I'm frustrated. I want to pull the gun up out of its mounting and hurl it at them.
Go ahead, bud. So I think that's probably athletics.
I can do athletics.
I'll give you one boost for I feel like a man with a power fist arm being frustrated just makes ripping things and tossing them a bit easier. Yeah. I think that's all I would add.
What difficulty do you want me to do?
Difficulty is going to be 1 because they're not that far away. That said, I am going to bump it up to a red by spending a story point.
Okay.
You're doing that thing where you're trying to hit. It's that classic 3 pins remaining in bowling issue where you just have to hit it in just the right way that'll take out all 3.
Okay. Do I have a story point to spend?
You do. You have 1 available to you.
I'm gonna spend it. Let's get to the doctor part.
So we're at 1 and 4 now. And go ahead.
Okay. I love strength-based checks. 8 successes, 1 advantage.
Yes.
All right, Tyler. Describe what this fastball special looks like and how it ends these bikes.
Well, the power fist is the strong arm, the arm that would be capable of ripping a gun out of its fixed position. So I think it's basically he's squeezing this thing and it is just not happening. He's firing on them and just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. His glasses are like sliding down his nose. So he just, with his human hand, his flesh hand, slides them back up the bridge of his nose, reaches over the top of the gun and grabs like the barrel of it and wrenches it back. And then I think he just has his riot shield up and he throws it over his riot shield one-handed. And it's like the potato masher, like kind of like German grenades, the ones that are like a stick, and it just kind of throws like that. Yeah.
Amazing. So it hits the lead bike squarely. And you hear it kind of crash into the bike alongside of it. Unfortunately, that third bike is still in the clear until the gun explodes, just throwing shrapnel and bullets in all directions. And you just see the final knob get shredded as the poorly made, overheated weapon erupts.
I have like my riot shield out and I just duck back down into the hole and create like my own lid with the riot shield. And I draw out my hand cannon and I just say, bloody orc tech is rubbish.
Amazing. As you do that, Attikus, you see a number of vehicles that you've observed several times, kind of in your comings and goings. But they seem to almost be essentially like a garbage truck, almost smaller garbage truck. So like a big sort of flatbedded vehicle with gimbaled arms on either side of the cockpit, and a big scoop up in front of it, sort of like a cross between a garbage truck and a snowplow. And there are a bunch of these. You've seen them on World since you arrived, and you're not sure what purpose they serve. They're certainly not part of the Glorious Regals. But and they're always driven by civilians, which you find very strange. But a bunch of these are lined up across the battle lines, seemingly, engines running with sort of imp guard emplacements around them. But it's the first time you've actually seen these things out of the hangar, which is strange. So they're like on tracks, so they're not, like hover vehicles or anything cool shit like that. They just drive around. It strikes you slightly odd, but you keep your little sort of false roof shell, and sort of observe these oddities as you zip past. Finally, Eugene gets through to someone who orders a ceasefire just as you kind of come skidding up to the forward operating base. And as you kind of pull to a halt, Marni slams forward. There's no Gretchen airbag for her because it's already been deployed. So she kind of bashes off the dash,
Marni.
flipping open the little glove box. And before you, kind of just past the line, you can see a bustling field hospital. And finally, it would seem you're within distance of medical assistance. Valentyne, what do you yell to them?
He'll say, "We've got injured, and we're going to need to be treated by Colestiares, Attikus Collector. Is there a Commissar about? I could really use a Commissar." And then I feel like he and then he probably falls over. That feels like the dramatic pass out moment.
Amazing. And Valentyne, as you hit the ground, you're relieved to see several people rushing towards you with a stretcher and a promise of another day left to serve the Emperor. Copy of an Imperial communication received by frontline Glorious Regals, First Lieutenant Tim Hagar.
Tim Hagar.
We're an Inquisitor. Don't shoot us. Look for the waving skull. Don't shoot. Note from Tim Hagar. Yeah, we kind of kept shooting. We weren't really sure if this was just a clever ploy or not. I mean, he kind of sounds like the Orks. Some of the Orks, like the fancy Orks. Anyway, we may have shot at an Inquisitor. Help? Marni, you wake up in a strange smelling room. There is all manner of horrific human stank floating through the air, as well as the kind of rare smell of chemical and disinfectant that only seems to exist in hospitals. But you blink your eyes a couple of times and realize that you're not dead. So that's nice. That's nice for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Attikus.
I mean, it's nice for Laura.
Yeah. Based on the Twitter response to the episode where you took an axe to the chest, I think it's going to be good for the listeners too. Attikus, as the least injured person coming into this, I think you've kind of been standing nearby, kind of keeping an eye on Valentyne and Marni. Is Attikus a tea guy? Is he a coffee guy? What would his like downtime beverage of choice be?
I mean, if there's no beer, tea.
Tea? Okay, great. So you come over with a dented tin mug of tea, but like industrial grade. Like I always think of tea as a very comforting thing, but like it's 40K, damn it. So I'm imagining it's not like it's industrial grade, like military ration tea.
Just served in a skull.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's like a little like metal cage. Like it's not a nice thing where it's just like an envelope of paper that just kind of clings to the side. But you know, it's warm, so that's nice at least. It's been a few hours since you all arrived at Forward Operating Base Charlie. Both Valentyne and Marni have been in and out of consciousness as Dr. Eris patches them up. Which has meant that Attikus, you've kind of been, it's fallen to you to kind of keep an eye on things as well as get a lay of the land. Obviously, last time you were with an Imperial Guard regiment, they tried to kill you. So as Marni blinks and you kind of see that she's coming to, you start making your way over to her. But I'm curious what you've been up to in the few hours that she's been under.
I would have received some medical treatment too, I would hope. But I would have basically stayed with the two of them. I would have seen that they were both kept in the same room, and I would stay in that room as well. And basically, I would be on guard duty, only admitting people to like administer healing or the necessary surgery or anything like that on either one of them. All these like Imperium like looky-loos of being like, oh, it's an Inquisitor, so like those people are not allowed in. People that like want to like ingratiate themselves to an Inquisitor or to even like see if the rumors are true, I'm not letting them in or anything like that. People that have questions, like want to report from me on what happened and how we came to be in a boomdack a snazwagon, they don't get a fucking word out of me. I'm sending them down the fucking hall.
Right.
Yeah,
I love it. Okay. So with that in mind, then 1 second, lost my character sheet here. 1 second. There we go.
Tom, you're a DM. Your cunning is 6. It's higher than legally allowed in the game, but you've established you have that ability.
I do. Great. I'll take it. So,
It's helping you rebuild your character sheet.
Oh, that's great. I see. Very good. Cool. So, Tyler, I think then what I would like from you is a discipline or a cool check, which is just for how successful you are at turning away all looky-loos.
I think it's going to be discipline, because I think it is.
That makes more sense to me too.
I think there's a vigilance aspect to it where it's not like, oh, vigilance is a thing on this, but no, discipline. Because I think it's not about being cool or smoothly, like I will be as abrasive as I need to be to make them leave. Like
Gotcha.
It's not about being cool or persuasive. It's about being a human wall.
Gotcha. So we're gonna go with difficulty of 3, just because you did make a rather dramatic entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Willpower. And do I have anything going on for will stuff? I don't think I do. Right. Okay.
All right. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Two failures, one threat.
Okay. So you are able to successfully not answer questions, because I don't think you need to roll to not talk. But you are the 3 of you are put under a guard. Like there are several sort of like almost like the equivalent of like military police who are specifically meant to kind of keep an eye on you guys. So I'll also say that has limited your ability to kind of move around the camp and get the lay of the land. But
I wasn't going anywhere anyway.
Yeah, great. Okay, cool. But they are highly suspicious of the 3 of you. It's there's no reason that a Karasit soldier should be here. They're definitely suspicious of Valentyne, and you kind of fit in a bit better, but also you showed up in a snaz wagon, so they're kind of confused. Cool. So Laura and actually all 3 of you, you can bring yourselves up to half of your threshold.
Oh, nice.
If you are already at half of your threshold, you can bring yourself up by an additional quarter of your threshold. So basically, with quick field medicine that Dr. Eris is doing, you're not going to get the full treatment. They're just going to patch you up enough that you're no longer falling apart. You'll need actual rest and care to get back up to full. Great. So Tyler, with that roll, then you have to have a conversation with the doctor as they treat you. You were aware that they're a very efficient doctor, and that ultimately, like, you guys could get patched up without causing too much of a stir.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that the guards watching you, it's not like they're investigating you or anything. Like, it's not. This isn't. This is the until you can give a statement, we're just going to keep an eye on you kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's not like your cover has been completely blown. But yes, Dr. Eris, as they're patching you up, says, so I'm guessing it's not exactly a coincidence that you showed up with a half-dead Inquisitor and a half-dead soldier from a unit that doesn't exist anymore, huh?
Well, you are my favorite sawbones, Ares.
Well, you're my favorite punchy guy. And Eris just kind of grins and shakes their head. They've met you. I think you've probably met once or twice. But there is a degree of kind of understanding in that Celesti works much the same way you do. Like, there's a job to do. You do the job as efficiently. Like, there's no bedside manner. There's no
that's fine.
pleasantries. It's just like, my job is to keep the machine going. The machine happens to be a bunch of squishy humans Fuck. So they kind of examine your wounds, get you patched up. As they're working on Valentyne, they just say, word of the wise to their Vis. From what I've heard, there is only one Inquisitor who has any sway on this planet. That is, of course, the Inquisitor Barthus Billingberg the 12th. Inquisitor Billingberg has sole domain over Vicodin, and I don't know if your compatriot here is aware of that or has spoken to Billingberg, but just be aware that Inquisitors might not receive the same cooperation here on Vicodin that they have elsewhere. I saw one come through once, and they got a stern talking to from someone pretty high up the chain. So tread lightly.
Well, it's my understanding that there's no one further up the train than our Lord Emperor. So, if we do not receive the appropriate cooperation, those who cross us can be sure to receive the highest imaginable punishments.
They just shrug and say, yeah, okay, good luck with that. All right, none of the three of you look like you're going to die now, at least not from these wounds. Make sure these two don't get eviscerated and almost chopped in half again, and they should be okay-ish in the future. And yeah, good luck with your complaint box delivery to the Emperor. I'm sure he'll get right on that. And then Eris, without another word, just sort of rushes off to go help further injured people being brought through, which is around the time that Marni starts to wake up. Marni, you blink your eyes. You see Vis approaching with a dented mug of tea. What's going through your head as you wake up?
I just want to know what happened to the Orks and if we won. That's it. I'm alive. Great. Check.
Cool. So Attikus, Marni wakes up asking about the Orks. What do you tell her?
War's not over, but you're alive to fight another day, trooper.
Okay, so it's time for us to get back into the fight.
Yeah, that's right. Now,
And
I was told to advise you not to get eviscerated or cut in half again. Apparently, that's not going to be good for you.
Who would advise something like that? Of course.
Yeah, well, Dark Heresy is a little cut and dry when it comes to the bedside manner. I'd still listen to that advice, though. Are you all right with laying in bed and resting a bit while the Inquisitor comes to?
No, I have to get back to the fight. And I just start getting out of bed.
Well, now you're part of the Inquisition now, Miss. Not Miss. No, I wouldn't do Miss. Schwartzenberger, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're part of the Inquisition now, Trooper Schwartzenberger. Your old responsibilities no longer apply.
My brain just kind of like breaks a little bit as I like have to like there's a new chain of command which like I was aware of in the battlefield, but it was still the battlefield, so I'm like, fuck. That I knew. This is like a
whole new world.
This is weird. Yeah. I will wait for the Inquisitor then.
It's probably a good idea.
And yeah, Marni, as you sit up, your vision swims a bit, and you realize your arm is in a sling, and you've got kind of a weird medical webbing over the massive injury to your shoulder. You can't really feel your arm right now.
Why is this not healed?
Well, it's been a few hours.
That should be plenty of time for this stupid doctor.
Laura, go ahead and roll me a Medicaid check, please. Difficulty of 3.
Medicaid, that's intellect. Okay, so we're not doing great there.
Land to your strengths.
Difficulty of 3. Oh boy. 1 advantage, 2 failures.
Sorry, we've got the grumble of vehicles outside. One of the camp dogs is just barking away.
One of the servitors is broken, just in the edge of the room. It's trying to raise its arm, but you just hear the whirring of a gear. Just
Yeah, the muffler's not doing too good. Someone's poked a hole in the muffler.
You got to muffle the servitors. That's the problem with the Mechanicum.
All right, so Laura, now the dog is sorted. What was your roll?
1 advantage, 2 failures.
Okay. Yeah, you this should be healed. Everything you know about medical science suggests that if it doesn't kill you, it will somehow make you stronger, and you do not feel stronger. And this is bullshit. Is what I think Marni is feeling. But sure enough, as soon as you sit up, like you feel like the world spins around you and you almost fall over. So yeah, it's cool to take some time with this, and
Yeah. No, yes. This is like, I will be of no use in the fight. I will stay here.
Not right away, but you'll bounce back quick enough. Here, let me fix you a cuppa.
That is assumed, yes.
I bring you a dented mug of tea.
I'd frickin' down it.
It burns
Another.
so good all the way down.
Yeah.
Great. So as Attikus, you continue to do tea runs for Marni. Valentyne, you slowly come to. The pain is still real rough, but you look down and see bandages crisscrossed and against this weird medical webbing. All of this is, I don't know if any of you have ever had the weird steri strip things they give you to like help. It's basically if they aren't giving you stitches, they'll give you these little like sterile, almost
Like the
tape.
butterfly.
Yeah. It's basically just like wound tape. So it's that kind of situation. It's a field hospital, so they're gonna like get you to the bare minimum of okay, and then you're off to it. So definitely not the highest grade medical care you've ever received, but also better than theme park world. It's nice to be back under Imperial knives again. So Valentyne, you slowly wake up. You see Vis delivering tea to Marni, who seems to be sitting up, though still grievously wounded. And you find yourself in field hospital. You immediately notice there are guards, but they aren't actively paying attention to you, so you feel like you're in okay-ish shape. What do you do?
Cool. The first thing he'd do is get himself back into his uniform with his breastplate and the coat and everything, because the battlefield has shifted from being the person with guns to political power. He knows the moments things get complicated, so he wants to be sure that he looks as intimidating and capable and imperial as possible, because that's a weapon that he has been taught by his former master is exceedingly useful. And once he is fully decked out as himself, minus the like weird stormtrooper armor he'd strapped on top of his other armor, so he doesn't look like a kid in his dad's clothes anymore.
I came from the battlefield. I did a battle.
Yeah. So he's dressed up, and it'll be Attikus, report on the situation if you wouldn't mind.
Since I rolled so badly, I guess Attikus doesn't have a whole ton to report, but he'll just basically mention,
Well, we arrived at Forward Operating Base Charlie. You announced our arrival and promptly passed out, sir. Collected yourself and Trooper Marni here, brought you in to receive care. Dr. Harris performed medical procedures on the both of you, and now you are recovering. It's been about 5 or 6 hours, sir. They posted a guard out front, and I permitted no visitors other than medical staff, sir.
Excellent work. Now, if you don't mind me asking, who are these guards, and who deigned to set them upon us?
Well, there's talk of only one Inquisitor that gets cooperation on this planet. One,
I wrote it so fast I can't read it. Barthus Billingberg.
one Barthus Billingberg, sir. I've not heard that name, but apparently he's the one in charge, and another Inquisitor on the planet is not exactly welcome news.
That is a bit of a surprise, especially if he has some sort of I'm the only one complex. Do I know anything about Barthus Billingberg, Tom? Is this a name that I would know from this sector?
Go ahead and roll a Inquisition check. Fuck, I would normally say like a history, but
Do you want to do like a forbidden lore?
Yes, let's do that. Sure.
Cool. Then let's see what I've got. What's my difficulty, Tom?
I'm gonna go ahead and say difficulty of 4 for this one.
1 advantage, 2 failure.
1 advantage, 2 failure. Okay.
Twins.
Yeah, we only have those dice. Those are the only dice we have. They only do that. Cool. So no, you haven't heard of this guy, but for your point of advantage, I will give you that it is highly unlikely he is an Inquisitor of this sector. Yeah. There are a lot of question marks in this thing that do not make sense to Valentyne at this point. I think he would then go and essentially, I don't know if we got like a door. I don't know what our situation is, but yeah, there's it's a tent.
Okay, great.
But
then
it does have a front flap. There are guards posted outside of that. But yeah, you've got the two cots, kind of the chair where Attikus has been hanging out, and he has been coming and going to get tea. It's just like under watch.
Cool. I think Valentyne would just go to the tent flap and kind of open it up and look to whichever guard looked the most in charge. So I requested the presence of a ranking commissar in this area. Why have they not arrived yet?
And the trooper looks at you and says, well, sir, we've been unable to ascertain any details or information about how exactly y'all ended up in the field, particularly in the hijacked Ork vehicle. Until we have more answers on that, the Commissar, for safety reasons, will not be approaching. Your compatriot with the power fist was quite adamant that no one should talk to anyone. So now that you seem to be up and about, sir, I'm sure the Commissar would be happy to speak to you.
Excellent. I look forward to them attending me. I'll wait here, I guess. Could you have food brought in? That'd be wonderful. And he'll just walk away without even waiting for an answer. Like I think his strategy here is just like act like you're in charge,
Yep.
and then come down like the wrath of the Emperor on the first person to object to you being in charge. Interesting fact about Valentyne: he's good at intimidation and lying. There is no charm. Any skill in that.
Okay, so let's go ahead with intimidation, which I believe would be coercion.
Yeah, it's coercion in this one.
Let's go ahead with coercion, please.
Great. What's the difficulty?
2. I'm going to give you 1 setback for the sort of mass confusion about what's going on.
3 success.
Nice.
Okay. So the 2 soldiers confer for a moment, but your requests are entirely reasonable. It's not like you're like, bring me a ship and some guns. So they one of them nods to just sort of a camp aide who rushes off and gets some food brought in. As the food's getting set up, the 3 of you have a moment to kind of catch up in a non-combat setting for a moment before the Commissar arrives. Is there anything you think you would discuss? We can safely assume that everyone gets roughly caught up on what's going on, just so that we don't have to play out a scene where you all just kind of recap the last few adventures for each other. You can listen to the beginning of the episode for that. So everyone gets roughly caught up on what's going on. The only things I think, and I think I know the answer to this, that are worth kind of adding as question marks are, Valentyne, would you share your working theory about the battlefield now? You do have a bit of time. And Marni, would you mention that you heard a voice in your head? I suspect Marni probably wouldn't, given that seems like bullshit to her, but...
Yeah, I think there's just like... she totally brushes it off as like a hallucination.
Perfect.
Well, friends, I believe the situation is somewhat more complicated than we may have first estimated. It appears, based on the forces present and the lack of awareness of this conflict on a central world, that this is some sort of, for lack of a better term, it's a distraction. This is a war that is meant to not end. The commands we've seen don't make sense. They were shelling too deeply, enough to deny reinforcements but not prevent the charge. Imperial lives seem to be being spent to delay a conflict and keep it going. And the fact that there is the Inquisition involved is immensely complicated. I don't know if this Inquisitor is innocent. I doubt it. One of the rules of the Inquisition is innocence proves nothing and assume guilt. And we have a rogue trader to hunt down. I have limitless authority because of the Inquisition. He also has limitless authority because of the Inquisition. This could be complicated. Essentially right now, have you ever played Calvin Ball? Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of it, sir, yeah.
Yes, Lord Arkham Calvin was one of the High Lords of Terror several centuries ago. And he had part of his brain lost in a servitor accident, just attacked by a loading servitor. And then he created a game that he called Calvin Ball, that he played with a number of other High Lords before his execution for treason. Essentially, it was a game where he brought a gun into a room along with a mace, and then he made up whatever rules he wanted for about an hour, and whoever left the room lost because he always won. This will be an improvisational experience for all of us. I intend to win, and I intend for our enemies to die. That's all.
Are you going to kill everyone here?
I hope not. I believe the Guard, ultimately having seen the two of you have come from it, are not actually at fault for this conflict. However, I have grave concerns about Barthus Billingberg the 12th and the generals of the armies involved, as well as the unit that turned on our dear Attikus.
I must say, it was a shock to me to discover this base here, so equipped. I have been fighting a personal war with these orcs for 10 years. How is it not ended? What is going on?
What I like is that you and I are asking the same questions. It shows you have a certain cunning about you, Marni, that I find incredibly charming. Also, to be absolutely clear, Attikus, all of the skull crawlers I will schedule for execution the moment we have the ability.
Perfect. And there is one technician or engineer, one Balto, I believe their name was. They put that damn device on my arm that rendered it useless. I'd like to see to them done in as well.
Wonderful. If you could, and he'll just take out his data slate and offer it to Attikus, just be like, write down the names of everyone you know is involved with your betrayal. I'd love to have a list that I could just hand off to the commissariat.
I write down all the lists of the people that I met in that unit. Attikus also asks
If it's not too forward, sir, I'd be curious to know how you came to planet Vicodin. Were you sent here? Are we on a mission, sir?
Yes, I was sent here by the Emperor, who sent me holy visions after the crash of a battleship, warning me that there are 10 figures who will see him torn from his throne if we do not stop them. I traveled from world to world, desperately on ships with allies, hard won and hard lost. Then I crashed on this planet, discovering you here. And that means the three of us are the only ones who can carry out a quest that will save the Emperor and the Imperium. That's how I came to be here. And so you came to be here, and that is why we cannot fail.
Atticus's eyes are like as big as dinner plates, and his fingers unconsciously like reach up to the etching on his armor of the God Emperor with his sword. He has no response. He's completely blown away.
So this mission will require us to carry out things that lesser people would not. It will require us to hunt for corruption and root out those in the highest seats of imperial authority. It will require, ultimately, for our friends and for those who do not know us, perhaps to think us traitors, to think us treasonous, to think us heretics. But we do this for the throne, friends. We will make sure the Imperium marches on at the cost of our own reputation and lives, if need be, because we're already heroes.
Very good, sir. I'm looking forward to my first game of Calvin Bowl. You've brought the Imperium's best mace,
And I like cock my arm and I gesture over to Marni.
and the biggest gun.
Tell me who to shoot, and I will shoot them.
Excellent. So step one is figuring out who to shoot, but I love the energy in this room. So I've got a commissar coming. We'll see where the lay of the land is here, and then we'll figure out the next steps.
Do you want a cup of tea, sir?
Yeah, that would be lovely. Also, I got food for everyone. Please, just collect whatever you need. I'm sure it's terrible, but it's what they had on offer.
And with that, the new members of the Valentyne Heresy break bread and enjoy a brief meal before being rudely interrupted by the arrival of the Commissar. An exchange overheard between Commissar Lucius Yenderson and a messenger who happily was not shot. Yes, sir, I'm afraid he's demanding. Demanding? Demanding? Well, unless his name is Inquisitor Billingberg the 12th, he can't command jack shit. Send him some garbage food. I'll be along in a moment. As you have just finished eating your aforementioned garbage food, the two guards snap to attention as Commissar Yenderson sweeps into the room. He is a think like Ed Helms if he'd seen some shit kind of guy. So like, you know, circa the end of The Hangover 1 or Andy at Sea in The Office. So just a real still got kind of that air of unearned pompous energy, but looks you know, a little like a military version of that. So he sweeps in. He's got his commissar's cap on, which is similar to the one Valentyne wears, long coat up and over his shoulders. He's in full dress uniform for the Glorious Regals, so like an unnecessary amount of, as we've established, gold piping and other things. Definitely not something you'd wear to the front. So he seems as though he's likely, as many commissars are, a lead from the back and shoot anyone who tries to leave kind of fella. So he swoops in and kind of looks at the three of you. Attikus, given that there was a contract out for you and you're not quite sure how far that reaches, do you think you would try and hide yourself or disguise yourself at all, or are you just kind of...
I don't think I have those resources available to me.
Yeah, gotcha.
Can't just like put my giant hand in front of my face or anything like that.
So weird. That guy looks like the guy we've got a hit contract out on, but I can't quite see past the distinctive metal arm that man also has.
Yeah.
Cool. So he looks at the three of you. His gaze lingers on Attikus for a moment or two before turning to you, Valentyne. And he kind of looks you up and down and says, nice coat, my lord.
Why, thank you. I was trained as a commissar at the Scholar Progenium before finding my true calling in the Emperor's service. And your name is?
I'm Commissar Yenderson. Lucius Yenderson.
Ah, it's always a pleasure to meet another Lucius, one of the best names in all of the Imperium.
Oh, yes, quite.
So I have a question for you, Lucius. Were you a part of the assault today? I imagine you're overseeing the general of this area. You seem like a very competent man.
And he puffs out his chest a little bit, and he says, it would seem that you have good taste in clothes and in people. Yes, I have indeed been overseeing the combat situation. It was a very successful raid today. Our requisition vehicles are currently reclaiming bits and pieces off the battlefield as we speak. But yes, quite a successful day for the Empire.
Excellent. Always glad to see the victory for our human forces out there. Now, I do have a question about the overall use of the bombardment, the artillery. Who was in charge of positioning those strikes?
I gave my orders to our sort of Master Gunnery Sergeant Jonas Raviston. Good man, Raviston.
Excellent. So you actually are taking command in this circumstance?
Yep.
Interesting. Did you lose your commanding officer recently? It's very, very rare for a commissar to have mixed rank.
Honestly, it's our little corner of paradise here. I'm kind of allowed to do what I see fit.
Well, that makes sense. There are cases where the Colonel Commissar, such as Ibram Gaunt, it's been a mixed rank before he's been given a regiment. So,
Sorry, Gaunt?
Gaunt, yes.
Never heard
Part
of
of the Sabbath Crusade. Don't worry about it. It's one of those things that you just sort of pick up when you've got a lot to read. All right, so I understand that you do have an Inquisitor already on this planet.
Not quite sure where you heard that, but yes, this is under the jurisdiction of the Great Inquisitor Billingberg. He is not on planet currently, but we do answer to him.
Answer to him. All right. So, what's been the struggle? I understand this conflict has been going for longer than a decade at this point.
Yes, sir, that is correct. The Orks are a tenacious foe. Difficult, but luckily the Glorious Regals are up to the task in the way perhaps the Kerasit weren't.
Attikus snorts.
That brings me up to a follow-up issue here. I understand that there is a unit within the Glorious Regals referred to as, I believe, the Skull Crawlers?
Yes. Sorry, Kerasit is her name. Sorry, Laura, what is your
Casterkin.
Casterkin.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's what he said. I had the wrong thing written down. It looks close enough that I was like, I feel like this is wrong, but oh well. Great.
That's okay. Marni glowers, but will not say anything.
Gotcha.
She's gonna let Valentyne take this.
So yes, it says Kerasit Skullcrawler. We don't see her and her unit out this way very often. They're an elite unit meant for the heat of the battle, a little bit further west of here. You must understand we're on the very fringes of the combat out here on the coast.
Yes, I can understand that. So I do have a question. I don't know if you've met my new companion, Attikus Vis. Are you familiar?
He looks between Marni and Attikus, not being entirely certain which is which. Ryan, go ahead and roll me a perception, please. Difficulty of 3.
Just confirming my perception. Yeah. Let's find out. 2 successes and a triumph.
Nice.
He shakes his head. It says, no, should I? Is he like your Ibram Gaunt, some name you just want to drop in my presence to somehow seem knowledgeable? He is lying. He is lying so hard. He is fully aware of who Attikus Vis is.
That's a fraught way to go about it, because if he's asking if he's met me, I'm here. I would have met him also if we had or had not.
Think of it this way, Tyler. It's more of an "Are you aware?" Like he's taking it as an "Are you aware
so
of?"
Attikus hasn't.
You
met
haven't
him,
like no.
but,
You haven't
okay.
like shook hands and been like, well.
Okay. I was gonna say bold play, sir. Like no, we've not met. It was like actually,
just kind of. Well, I got a little pendant that says "Best friends forever." That would seem to disagree with you, sir.
This commemorative photo, Commissar.
Sorry. Carry on.
So you are in charge of the Glorious Regals, you as sole commander and general of the battlefield, correct?
No, just this operating base. The army is vast. I just have control of this part of it.
But the Skullcrawlers serve at the Glorious Regals?
Yes.
And you lead the Glorious Regals?
I am one of the leaders, yes. Ryan, I'm going to stop you right here. I don't fucking know Imperium rank. So it's super cool that you're playing this like, I'm catching him in a lie. It's not a lie. There's a big fucking army. He controls this part of it. I don't know the Imperial
that's fine.
fucking military structure. I ain't learning it for this fucking show. So he operates this part. You get the sense that he's in charge of whatever this
I am
Eastern
in charge
front
of
is.
the orange team.
Yeah. So he's in control of the Eastern Front.
Cool, yeah. Literally all I was trying to figure out was just how high is he?
He's not that high.
Eastern Front, great. No, but Eastern Front's fine, because that's enough for him to have some authority and theoretically knowledge.
Yes. You get the sense that the Eastern Front along the coast is his fiefdom. He controls this part of the wall and the regiments that are here.
Cool, yeah, that makes sense. All right, Attikus, did you say there was a kill order out on you, or did they just start shooting?
I was out in the field at the time, and they just started shooting, sir. They did, in fact, have the well-known Kerasit Skullcrawler herself come out and attempt to finish the job, sir.
Well, then, I am so sorry, my new friend. You seem like a fine man, but unfortunately there are traitor forces within your own army. The Skull Crawlers, the entire unit of them, including Karaset specifically, have tried to assassinate loyal members of the Throne's army. I have their names, which I can give to your people. Unfortunately, they will need to be executed for heresy. Not what I want, but it's what the Emperor needs, you know?
He kind of looks at you levelly and says, if what you're saying is true, this is very concerning. I'll be happy to hand it over to the general, but I'm afraid, sir, you do not have that authority here.
Oh, that's interesting. So who do you believe does have the authority to execute heretics? As a Commissar, whose job is to execute heretics, or as an Inquisitor, whose job is to execute heretics? You want to shunt this off to someone else?
Look, I don't know how you do things back on your planet, but here we answer to Billingberg and we answer to Mr. Vicodin. Those are the people we answer to. The general himself, we answer to him as well. So you want to have words with the general? I'm sure you can put in an order, and I'm sure he'll see you in a few weeks when it's convenient.
I look to Valentyne and I just say, I must say something. Even I am surprised that he does not know that you have the authority.
Thank you, Marni. That's an excellent point to make out. I'm confused by the combination of your belligerence and your lies, and the stupidity of the lies in combination with the belligerence. Clearly you know who Attikus Vis is. I mean, we could tell that from a mile away. Also, a man of your importance would absolutely know what's going on. And also, I speak with the Emperor's authority. I'm trying to stay chipper on this one. Like, you could just see he's the guy trying to, like, rage behind a smile, and he's like, because I know every dark emotion just fuels the enemy. So here's the interesting thing. Clearly you have an Inquisitor behind you, which means that Inquisitor and I are theoretically of equal rank. So let's say he's the right hand of the Emperor, and I'm the left hand of the Emperor, and you are a piece of shit. Now, one of those hands may punish you, the other may not. One could tell you not to do what the other says. That's true. But in the middle, you're still just getting stepped on like a piece of shit. So why don't we try to rebalance this little combat that we're having here socially? Well, we acknowledge that I'm an Inquisitor, and you are less than that.
He kind of nods and says, these are all very valid points, my lord. That said, this planet is right-handed.
Is Billingberg here?
No.
Has he commanded you not to cooperate with me, specifically?
He has not ordered me specifically to do that, no, but he did order the general not to work with any other Inquisitors, that all Inquisitor business must be run through him. You should know that. You are an Inquisitor, right?
Well, you're assuming that we all talk. You hadn't heard of Attikus Vis, and he's in your regiment.
He's not, again, he's not assigned to the Eastern Front. He's not in the,
Oh, no. I understand that, but Valentyne doesn't care, so he could just be mean to him.
Sure. As long as that's what it is.
Yeah. Right. I'm not trying to trap Tom. This is just getting them knives out. All right, you're dismissed.
Yeah, he was like on his way out, and he's like, "Oh wait, no, I was storming. Fuck!" He kind of pouts as he leaves, but you do see him wave to the guards, who begin to double up around the tent.
How many guards?
You can just see through the flap as he leaves, but it would seem that there's a unit moving in to kind of actively secure the tent. You're all very scary-looking people, so if things do go badly, 2 rent-a-cops aren't exactly who you want guarding the place. There's like an Inquisitor, a guy with a power fist, and like a slab of meat. It's not like 3 guys in jumpsuits being like, "We'll stop them!" So yes, you can hear the stomp of boots around as they seem to be securing the tent.
I guess in the moments before they secure the tent, Attikus will just look to Valentyne and say, "Are we playing nice right now, sir?"
Well, Marni's injured, so we don't have a tremendously large number of options. We are armed, and now we know that everyone is the enemy, which is kind of how the Inquisition operates, so I'm not entirely concerned. I don't like the Inquisitorial ties, but, I mean, if the Emperor's going to send you a vision, it's not because it's going to be easy. Then he could just, I don't know, send a message through the Inquisition. I don't like this circumstance, and I don't like that man. But I love my job. So cheerful. So cheerful. Everything's cheerful. So, Marni, how long are you going to take to recover, if you don't mind me asking? This is based on Marni's knowledge, so it doesn't really matter.
I am recovered enough to fire my weapon.
Marni,
good to know.
You reach for it, and you realize that, of course, like you're stripped down for like medical aid. So you don't have it on you, but as you look to your pile of stuff, you notice that your plasma cannon and backpack are nowhere to be found.
Oh, my plasma gun got destroyed, right?
Yes, but you're unconscious, so this is the first you've noticed it.
Oh, fuck. Where is my gun? The one with the plasma.
Oh, that one.
Where is it?
It was destroyed, and then we used your backpack as an improvised explosive.
I didn't hear anything you said, Laura nor Marni.
That's all right.
Just one regular size hand and one very large hand kind of come up in like calming gestures from Attikus and just says,
Now, trooper, do keep in mind that as a member of the Inquisition, I believe you can requisition a new one. Should be fairly easy. I mean, as soon as we get this whole Billingberg, the 12th situation settled. Do you have other guns?
Yes, I do. I will
Grab
also
those
need to
guns.
repair my armor. And I need a new helmet. I am useless.
No one is useless in the service of the Emperor, and the human body is more than enough. I'm afraid we may have to go without the helmet. I'll see if we can requisition things. I'm putting together a plan for all of us.
That vacuum seal that I upgraded it with is useless.
Now, that is true. Unfortunately, whatever I can find you will likely not be vacuum sealed, but I'll see what I can do. And then I think...
thrones spent.
Yes.
Sorry.
He'll go over and open the tent and say, excuse me, all of you, for lack of a better term, military police. Is there someone in charge I could speak with for a moment? Just whoever's in charge of this detail.
They look around and said, a woman says, pardon me, my lord, did you not just speak with the Commissar?
Oh, yes. But I don't need to waste his time with smaller details. I just mean whoever's in charge of this security detail. I'm sure there's someone.
Sure, you can speak to me. My name is Regina Dusim.
Wonderful. Regina, I do have some requests in terms of requisitions that my agents will need. Should I just write up a list and give it to you to collect for us, or is there someone I should speak to?
And like you can see like her face redden with kind of like immediate shame. She's like, I'm sorry, my lord. And she's like not really making eye contact with you either. There's like kind of a, and I think as an Inquisitor you're kind of used to this. For like the truest of the true believers, it's it's not even like a priest is telling them. It's like the Pope showed up and was like, hi, I need some stuff, and they're like, oh. She says, I beg your and his, and she looks up to the sky, forgiveness, my lord, but unless the requisition order comes through Lord Billingberg, we cannot assist you. Our orders have been quite firm that all of our inquisitorial authority on this planet rests with him. He's a great man, just like you, sir. A true believer.
All right, can you step into the tent? There's something I need to speak with you about personally.
Me?
Yes, you.
And she like looks to her compatriots with a bit of like a save me, but also this is awesome look. And then awesome. she just says, of course, my lord. And then she does that like getting to go on a date with a celebrity thing, where as she's entering the tent, she like quickly looks to one of her companions and he gives her like a double thumbs up, like a little tiny one up by his chin. And there's only a hint of jealousy in his eyes as she's brought in. So she's an Olivia Colman type. And again, like clearly knows how to handle herself and how to handle her weapon, but is clearly a bit in awe. So she enters the tent.
I'm sure you've met my companions. This is Attikus Vis and Marni Schwartzenberger. Now, you may not have expected it this day, but it's time for you to be called to become an Imperial hero. And there is a reason. Glasgow Vicodin is in deadly danger. There are a cabal of conspirators are spread around this world in places that you or I cannot know, and I have been sent to save him from them. The Inquisitor cannot notify anyone of the danger, because to do that could alert the conspirators and Glasgow could fall. That is why I could not tell your commander, and it is why I risk my very mission talking to you, a true Imperial servant. We cannot be trapped here. We must escape this place. We must move forward. We must find the conspirators and save Glasgow Vicodin. The fate of this world, the fate of your people, the fate of this war, all rest in your hands. Will you help me?
She chokes down a squee as best she can. And then tries to like mumble it into something more military. So it's kind of like of course, sir. I am humbled to serve the Emperor's will in any way I can. Does this mean I too will get a title as a servant of the Inquisitor, like the great Attikus Vis and Marni Schwartzenberger?
Correct. You will be named a servant of the Inquisition, elevated beyond your rank, beyond your duties, to a new obedience to myself and the throne.
She just nods very solemnly, and then throws up and says, "I'm so sorry about that. Yes, my lord. Obviously, I serve at the pleasure of the Imperium. It makes perfect sense. Of course, Inquisitor Billingberg couldn't get a message through. A shadowy cabal. Don't like the sound of that at all. Sounds..." And then she kind of leans in, like looks around conspiratorial and says, "Heretical."
Exactly.
And her jaw drops. Like she was hoping it was, but like the fact that it is she's aghast. Ryan, I need you to roll me either a coercion or a leadership, please. Your argument makes perfect sense. We're going to roll to determine how capable Regina actually is, like how much aid she's actually able to provide. So I think she's convinced either way. Now it's just a question of like how much elbow room does she actually have?
Yeah, how much can the sergeant of the military police get done?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Cool. What's the difficulty?
Difficulty of 2, please.
Great. What's our story point situation currently?
Story point situation currently, we are sitting at 1 and 4 in my favor.
We're gonna let that rest because we don't need to trap ourselves in hell before an escape attempt.
Okay. I will spend 1 just to make sure the pool is still moving. So yeah. So if you could upgrade one of those purple to a red, please. I'm going to give you a boost for the awe of the Inquisition. You're talking to a true believer, so this is a bit easier. I'm also going to give you a setback for her sense of duty and chain of command, because she knows this is a little bit off the books. Attikus or Marni, would you be able to help with this in any way, do you think?
Only through coercion. And I don't know if that's the right move right now.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't think so, honestly. Okay. Martin, yeah. No.
Marni, would you be trying to like equip yourself right now? Is that
I basically would be trying to like whatever like armor I had left.
Yep.
Just like trying to like fashion it together in some way that might protect me, because I would feel very, very naked without it.
Gotcha. Okay. Laura, can you please roll me a just a pure presence check? No difficulty.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 success, 1 advantage.
Okay. As you're doing this, like for Ducium, the heroic like Hans Zimmer score is like slowly building as the Inquisitor like tasks her with a mission. And she does that thing where like she looks to Attikus, who's like, you know, rotating the sockets in his hand and like sipping tea and looking like a capable badass. Then looks over at Marni, and even though you're like struggling to get your armor on in a way while still having your arm like braced against your chest, at one point you like flip your gun up over your shoulder, and it's just like a perfect hero pose. Like if they're gonna do like a join the army thing. I mean, for you, you're just like awkwardly trying to like get your arm into your chest plate, but for her, it's like a classic like you could be this. So I'll give you one boost, Ryan, for the inadvertent recruitment poster of Attikus and Marni.
Heroic dressing. Yeah.
Yep.
All righty, let's see what happens. 1 success and 3 advantage.
Okay, cool. So her actual abilities are somewhat limited, but in terms of what you're, she is on side, and she will get what she can for you, as well as she can likely provide you with information about how to escape, if that's what you're after. What do you specifically want from her?
We need a weapon for Marni, because both Marni's hell gun and plasma gun needed the backpack to be powered. So right now Marni's down to like a pistol, I think.
I don't even have, because I hell gun and hell pistol.
That's what I mean. So Marni's down to 0.
Too. Yeah.
So we needed another stormtrooper backpack for Marni. And then we need like essentially to know how to escape and what we would need to be able to get into like the past the lines into the city to try to find the cabal, quote unquote, near Glasgow.
You're the cabal.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so you said 1 success and 3
advantage.
All right. So she can provide for now a las gun for Marni. Unfortunately, as an MP, she doesn't have access to like the really good shit. But she immediately like flips her rifle around and hands it to you, Marni. So you now have a las gun. It's again, like I was joking about flashlights earlier because I'm a snarky Space Marine player in IRL. But for you, this literally, there's so little recoil and it's so lightweight that it's actually uncomfortable for you to use, because you're so used to like actual kick and like heavy weapons. That's something this light. Because the joke people make about lightsabers, where it's like everyone thinks it'd be like sword fighting, but it isn't, because there's no weight. So it's actually just swinging around like a handle.
Yeah.
And there's no sense of like distance or anything else. So it'd actually be very hard to fight with. And similarly for you, this is the equivalent of a sword made of light. You're just like, meh.
I will attempt to not crush this.
Yeah. You immediately like break the trigger guard off so your finger can fit in. And
wait, so what kind of gun is it?
It's a las gun.
It's a las gun? Okay.
Yeah. So I think like in like a classic laser rifle for visual sake.
It'd be the M16 of the current military, just like nice mid-range.
Exactly. And I think, Marni, we could safely say that based on your size, you using this one-handed would be fine.
Cool.
Particularly because you're used to the kick of like heavy machinery.
Yeah.
Great. So in terms of the actual Vicodin distillery, she says, unfortunately, my lord, this is where things do get somewhat more complicated. The glorious Regals are camped outside of the force wall to keep the inside safe for visitors and tourists and Lords of Terra, bigwigs who decide to come and visit. Mr. Vicodin himself remains in an orbital facility off planet in the planet's orbit, but he has been known to visit the factory if there are any major disruptions or major VIP visits or events. In fact, I have heard that Inquisitor Billingberg may be meeting with Mr. Vicodin aboard that orbital station currently. So you may be able to get a message to your fellow Inquisitor if that would serve the Emperor. In terms of getting inside, soldiers aren't allowed in. The Regals aren't allowed in. Occasionally the General will go in, but no one else. That said, she does mention the requisition carts that are The only way she can think of to get safely inside the facility, she describes the vehicles, Tyler, that you saw on your way in, sort of the flatbed with essentially, it's not like just a flatbed with no sides. It does feel a little bit like a dumpster on wheels with a scoop up front. And she says that those vehicles frequently travel past the force wall in and out. She's not quite sure what they're bringing to and from the distillery. Although, of course, Vicodin is a very popular beverage amongst the troops, so she thinks it might just be taking ruined things from the battlefield that might be useful to the factory in, and then usually Vicodin supplies come out. But given the amount of machinery that gets ruined on the battlefield, there's a lot of like parts and pieces that can be requisitioned. She describes Vicodin as a vaguely techno-feudal society. So much like the Alexander Keith's factory in Nova Scotia, or if you go to like an abbey where they brew beer, the society seems to have kept the vestiges of feudalism and feels like what probably, if this plant didn't exist, would be a fairly feudal society, except Vicodin set up shop here. So as a result, he's kind of enlisted them, but kept them all like in a lot of ways, it feels like almost a tourist town, like old Montreal or any of these places where it's like they've really kept up the vestiges, which makes sense with what you've seen of the factory itself, which seems very old school from like the ground up, and then beyond kind of the second story, it's like full fucking industrial nightmare town. So all that to say, because it is a vaguely feudal society, there is great interest in ruined battlefield tech that can be repurposed for things. That said, these carts do seem to travel in and out fairly frequently. So her recommendation, if you needed to get in quietly without raising the attention of the cabal of heretics, she says with a slight curl to her lip, smuggling yourselves aboard these vehicles would likely be the best way.
All right, and then we either find a message service, find some sort of spaceport to give us access to the one in space, or we have to cause a non-harmful, of course, we need to protect this world for the Emperor, but a non-harmful disruption of service, which could bring Glasgow down for us to speak with him, correct?
Yes, if you need to speak with him, that would be best.
Excellent. All right, then. Where are these carts and how do we get to them? Can you draw me a map on this napkin? How to get from here to the carts?
So she outlines that the ones that you saw heading out into the battlefield after this most recent engagement will be heading through shortly. There is they travel through this camp fairly quickly. They don't really stop, but they are traveling slowly as they're not speedy vehicles. They're again on tracks, so they move like tanks. So the most recent supply run should be traveling through here soon. They will be inspected at the shield wall, and then beyond that will be she isn't sure, but as she understands it, from there they'll go to some sort of processing facility to redistribute whatever they've scavenged from the battlefield.
Do you know what kind of security screening it is? Is it just like a scan? Does someone go through? I don't expect you to know, but I'm just looking for what I can get.
As I understand it, sir, since it is overseen by the Emperor's servants, the glorious Regals, they're pretty confident that the security is safe. It's merely a checkpoint to ensure that everything is taken care of. But no, I don't believe there are scans. They're likely light checks, but we haven't seen anything too thorough. They come and go constantly, so it would seem to me that there can't be too much by the way of security.
Excellent. All right. Now, I don't wish to harm any of your fellows in your unit, of course, because you're all loyal servants of the Emperor. Is there a way for us to get out of this tent and towards those traveling things without needing to do that? Or is this a situation where you could call off some guards and we could, unfortunately, punch you so that it looks convincingly like you weren't involved? I don't want any blowback on you from the Cabal.
Sir, that would be best. If you wouldn't mind punching me for the Emperor, I will be happy to create a distraction.
Wonderful. Let's do that. Is everyone else? Should we do this now? Should we wait until like a shift change or something? What's best timing for you?
Yeah. So the vehicles will be coming through shortly. So there isn't a lot of time. She recommends doing it now.
Wonderful. And then he just looks over and is like, Marni, do you have your clothes on?
I think by now I do.
Yep.
Excellent. Attikus, Marni, from what I understand, we're going to try to either hide ourselves in or take over a transport to get through the wall. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Anything you say.
All right, where should I punch you?
She smiles at you just with utmost confidence and says, "May the Emperor guide your hand."
Great. And he clocks her one right in the face.
She goes, "Ow!" And stumbles away. And as she does, she gives you a quick thumbs up. And then she does a full shoulder sprint at the sort of central tent pole. And just throws her shoulder through it. And the tent begins to collapse toward her in the front. As it does, the line of the back of the tent starts to rip up, providing you an opportunity to slip out. That said, there are still soldiers out there. So do you want to go stealthily or do you want to go punchily? Like they're distracted by the tent collapsing. They're trying to keep it up. You still need to like get past them somehow.
I think the attempt would be stealth.
Okay.
But if we have to, punch.
Great. So if I could get stealth checks all around, please. Difficulty of 2. You're going to get a boost dice from the collapsing tent and the distraction. The guards are actively panicked, which helps a bit. And yeah, that's it on my end. You currently have 2 story points available to you.
2 successes, 1 threat.
Okay.
4 successes, 2 advantage.
Okay.
2 successes, 4 advantage.
Hot damn. So you guys
Very
managed to slip
agile.
out as she continues to flail. Regina is like flailing inside the tent, like pretending to fight you. And she's like, "No one messes with the glorious Regals and their military police." And she's doing a great job, honestly. She missed her calling. It's a bit like that parachute game you play as kids going on in there. She's playing all the roles. She's like doing Atticus's voice. She's doing the Inquisitor's voice. It's a whole thing. And the 3 of you managed to slip sort of along the edge of the tent line. You see other sort of triage tents set up. You see Celeste working. She like catches your eye as you walk, as you sneak by Attikus and just nods to you. In kind of like I'm aware that something's afoot, but I just don't give a shit kind of way. And then they go back to their work. And sure enough, there are these big clumsy vehicles rolling along. The flatbeds on the back are again kind of like I think if you were to order any of those services that come to like pick up your junk. Or are outside a renovation or anything else. So a sort of a dumpster type of back, but bigger and longer. These have been secured with a tarp. So there's a tarp that is hooked all the way along to cover the salvage from the elements. There are a bunch of these trucks moving. With those rolls, you manage to successfully make it to the trucks. And is the plan to just kind of sneak up under just like pop up the tarp, hop inside, pull down?
That seems like the easiest answer. Yeah, if we can just and then like get some shit over ourselves so we're not visible if somebody just peeks.
So the 3 of you doing that little like crouch run that I do in stealth games all the time, get up next to the vehicle and kind of nod to each other, and as one you all kind of like hoist yourselves up and flip into the cart. You're expecting to feel the sharp edges of shrapnel and sort of wreckage dig into you, so everyone kind of braces, but instead you hit something soft and squishy. And as the 3 of you look down, you realize that the entire flatbed is full of dead orcs.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Attikus Vis, Laura Elizabeth at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Marni Schwartzenberger, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's show logo was created by Decapitated Markers at Decapitated Marker on Twitter. That's MRKR. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, provided by freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, Long, the Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, Charles Grams, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord of Bradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Chet Awesome Laser, Jordan Neesmith, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.